What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today is May the 20th. I want to give you a quick pre-market update, go over some hot movers and some of the stocks that Big Money is focusing on today. Before we get into any of that though, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. Starting off with data points, not a whole lot. As I've mentioned in specific videos, this whole week is more of a reflection week. What has been coming out data point wise, what is kind of anticipated to come out, tariffs, some of the updates. So I think right now the market is still very much optimistic, and you can kind of tell that based on the fear and greed index. So it is under the greed category, meaning people's appetite for risk is on the table. Very apparent based on the stocks I'm going to be talking on, but oddly enough, you do see the futures slightly red. But although, like I said, most of the stocks I'm going to be talking on are green. Dow is pretty much flat, S&P down 0.15, NASDAQ down 0.24. So nothing overly crazy if you ask me. But getting right to it, Sofi. Nothing planned, no fireside chats, no news so far. But then again, they like to put out news at like 9 a.m. I do believe. But they are up 0.15%, so it's merely just piggybacking off the broader market. So 13.66% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 148.4 million shares overall are being shorted. So despite the downgrade news yesterday, I did anticipate shorts to actually increase. They didn't really do anything at all yesterday, so kind of interesting. So I think that they are now waiting for larger macro data to really move their kind of next step, whether they double down to that 14-15% range or whether they start to retreat back to the 11. It should happen over the next at least 2 to 3 weeks in my opinion. But as far as today, with it at 1375, trading between this pivot and this S1, so 1401 is going to be a kind of next strong target slash resistance, key pivot for it, and then 1346 is going to be the next strong support. In my opinion, I don't see the S1 being touched. If anything, you might have a initial pull down, dip, and then it'll kind of retrace and retest this 1401. So that's just my opinion, of course, but I think SoFi this whole week is going to be pretty much fairly stagnant and closing between that 1360-ish range and 1450, in my opinion, of course. But moving on, you have ticker EDBL. It is up 35% this morning because of this news. So Edible Garden launches Kick Sports Nutrition on Amazon, partners with Piranha to accelerate brand growth. So that's what's causing it to go higher. As far as shorts, it's not overly heavily shorted. So 3.94% of the free float's being shorted. Works out to be 56,000 shares overall are being shorted. So at the end of the day, I don't see that being that big of a kind of influence, so they won't really be moving the price that much. But with it at 271, trading between this R2 and this R1, so 265 is going to be a strong support if you're looking at getting in, and then 292 and then 335 is going to be the next strong target slash resistance points. In my opinion, I do feel once the market does open, you'll have a kind of jump to this R2, might bounce off of that and consolidate down, and most likely trade between this R2 and this R1 throughout the day, unless Big Money really does want to push it higher. So just watch for 292 and then 335 as I mentioned. Moving on, BBAI, it is up 1.88%, so nothing overly crazy today, but no news, so it's just piggybacking off of the optimism that's in the market, and a lot of money is actually focusing on it today. So again, that's one thing that I really like to look at in my pre-market videos, is what Big Money is ultimately kind of focusing on. But 22.59% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 65.02 million shares. So this stock, in my opinion, is primed for a squeeze. The only thing that you need, because of course, if you have a high utilization, a lot of shares being shorted, a high cost to borrow, a lot of overall shares being shorted and everything, the only thing that you typically do need is a catalyst. And if this stock is to put out some substantial news, then yeah, that would be a huge kind of push higher. So if you're looking at adding a squeeze play to your watch list, I feel like this one might be it. But right now with at 377, trading between this R2 and this R1, 373 is going to be a strong key pivot for it today, so you really want to watch for that. If not, it'll trade between this R1 and pivot throughout the day. 407 and then 462 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. Given the momentum in the market, I do feel that it will hold and kind of close between somewhere between this R2 and this R1, somewhere here. But if you're a day trader, that's kind of key in, very advantageous. But moving on from here, ticker is LAES. It is up 10%, I think, piggybacking off of yesterday's news. So yesterday's news, they did announce the results of the 2025 annual general meeting, as well as after hours they did put out a prospectus. So that was done at 5:09, and this one is for up to $100 million. So logically, I must be missing something. There might have been one good point submitted in this AGM that is causing it to go higher, because usually if any company is doing a issuance of 100 million or whatever else, usually would cause some kind of distress in the price, but it's not really doing all that much. But you can kind of see the market cap is 378 million. So logically that 100 million would do some substantial damage, but again, maybe I'm missing something. But regardless, big money's focusing on it today and really pushing it higher. 5.7% of the free float's being shorted, works out to be 5.61 million shares overall are being shorted. If you're looking at trading it with it at 346, between this pivot and this S1 to 239 is going to be a strong support, and then 648 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. Then last but not least, Pony. Pony AI just had their earnings. I did anticipate this to actually flop on their earnings, give somewhat good guidance, but they seem to be really moving higher, and it looks as though that they are kind of showing off their recent partnership deal with Tencent for robotaxis and whatever else. So that definitely is a good thing. It is up 5%, give or take. It's somewhat heavily shorted, so 5% of the free float's being shorted. Works out to be 5.74 million shares. It is on the threshold list, so that's something to kind of keep in mind. Aside from that, with it at 17.75, trading between this R3 and this R2, so 17.03 is going to be a strong support. Flip side, 18.72 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. I think what also is happening today is yesterday it was being artificially suppressed, and big money I think was somewhat hesitant about their earnings. Maybe they did believe that it was going to flop, no different than me. So I think today is also a recovery from that kind of overdone sell-off, if that kind of makes sense. So this is basically what big money is focusing on today. As I mentioned, even though the futures are slightly red, you're basically still seeing the market very optimistic and kind of resemblant based on the greed category. So let me know your thoughts. What stocks are you're watching today? Throw some tickers in the description below. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon and get buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.